Da 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 da. What's my good cheer? Welcome, everybody. Let's give YouTube a couple of minutes to get those notifications out. Let people know I've gone live. And in the meantime, if you've never met me before, hi, I'm Cindy. I explore the inside and the outside. And this week has been a little bit of experimentation, kind of checking things out, see how I can improve in what I bring to the table, even improving in my own life and trying little things. And it's not like these are things that I haven't tried to resolve in my life, but quite often we give up after we fail in trying to achieve something. And it's in that picking yourself up and dusting off your knees and trying again over and over and over again until you get so fed up or you succeed. But I hope when you get fed up, you don't quit in that. You adapt, you conquer, you try something new, try something different. You pivot. Sometimes you have to spin your whole life, right? And turn it upside down and find yourself in a totally different experience that you had possibly even from yesterday. And it's being able to roll with that, rolling with what we're unsure of, what we're kind of a little bit of freaked out about sometimes. And sometimes, you know what? I dig my heels in things. I I would like to say that I can help the person that I am. It's in those small adjustments, those small improvements, and it's in trying over and over and over again and failing in that until eventually, like I said, you get it right or you get frustrated and you try something new, whether it's trying a different technique or trying, sorry, my blanket kind of fell behind me and it's making it uncomfortable. Or you try something completely different. Even for myself, even in the past half a dozen years, I would have to say that I've done, it's got to be at least 4 or 5 different serious, like noticeable pivots in my life where I completely changed, where I completely went a different route, where I made a different choice. But if there's one thing I know about my life and waking up to some of these ideas, is that I am supposed to make different choices. What the original choice was in the beginning, I don't know. I am just trusting that if I just keep moving and those opportunities arise, that I'll know in that moment whether it's the right choice for me. I believe so far, so good. Am I doing it perfectly? No. Am I doing it quickly? Quickly? Definitely not. But sometimes it's the quality and not the quantity. And if you had asked me 10 years ago, I would have said definitely the quantity. How much can you do? How much can you learn? How much can you help? How much can you take on? How much can you just take it? Right? But in reality, if you just go slowly, because pivots are not slow. Pivots are pretty instant. That's the give up and try something different, right? And it could be totally unrelated to what you're doing. Like when I first started here on YouTube, if you've been to my main page, right? When I say I explore the inside and the outside, it perfectly reflects that when you go to the content that I'm offering up, because I'm offering up my bushcraft, I'm offering up my trips, my road trips, I'm my camping trips, right? I'm offering up my content when it comes to exploring abandoned buildings, and I'm exploring and sharing the experience that I'm having and all that, because it's so unique in those experiences. But when I first started on YouTube, I was exploring abandoned farms, abandoned houses, going back to the days of the voyageurs and the Hudson Bay Company, the fur traders. And it was exciting and it was fun and it was something I was doing by myself, for myself, because it was something I enjoyed, and I would much rather go off and do things that I enjoyed rather than pull company into that, take people along with me on these excursions and these trips and stuff, and then have to entertain, right? And in that sensitivity to the people that we hang with that are in our vicinities, we want people to have a good time. And when we're doing things that might not possibly be the interest of somebody else, right? They're just kind of hanging out to keep company and to have a different experience. Then I find that I have to entertain, and that's what I do. And even if I don't have to entertain, that the people I'm with are not asking me to entertain, it was the way that I was built, it was the way that I was brought up, it was the way that I was programmed, it was right, it was built into me. And I feel inefficient, I feel inadequate when I'm not able to bring to the table. And so we tend to, right, take care of others and entertain others. And I didn't want that, because this was something that was special to me. And at that time, I wasn't woke to any of those ideas, right? I was just creating the best life for myself as I possibly could in the circumstances and in the lifestyle that I was living in, that I was always living in, and in that mindset of never thinking of possibilities of anything else than that limited life that I was living. And so when I'm able to go out onto the road and have experiences that were for just me, and they were unique because other people weren't doing that, and one of those things was going camping. And that's what actually when it first started. I wasn't YouTubing my camping excursions, but you know, I wanted to be on Big Brother Canada. I wanted to be put in that house, and I thought I could kick butt in that. Um, and I did my audition video, and this was, oh my goodness, 2013, 2012, 2013, and I did an audition video. Now it didn't pan out. I didn't get on to Big Brother Canada, but in that experience, I fell in love with something else, which was being a creator in film. Now, I didn't know how long it would last, right? And in truth, I didn't think I was very talented in the technical aspects of filming. It was confusing and frustrating for me. But I was determined in that, in sharing my experience, that I could have something else that was totally mine in a more material fashion, a YouTube channel, right? So I started my YouTube channel and I thought I would share my camping trips, but then it turned out that I was sharing my urban exploration because I happened onto some urban explorers on YouTube, and they were kicking butt in their category, but nobody was doing farms and old homesteads and right tongue and groove log homes, first pioneer homes, right? The first homesteads, right? Settled in Canada. And I loved it. And I took it on as a project for myself and I fell in love with it. And I have a lot of abandoned out there, but how far could I take that content without going into repeat or going into further distances in my exploration, you know, life, right? Circumstances, perceptions, right? And we kind of stunt our own growth. And that's exactly what I thought. I had taken the urban exploring as far as I could. So I went into road safety and road trips, and then I started sharing. These were all pivots because I was just trying to save my brand. My brand was mine. It was right. It was like I was creating the best life for myself as I possibly could, but I was clinging to the things that belonged to me. And my YouTube, Prairie Dodgers, that belonged to me. That was created by me. And I didn't know what it was going to look like in the end. I could tell right away there were going to be lots of changes, and those first 3 or 4 pivots were hard, and they were meant to be hard. They were meant to make me break down, make me quit. I'm determined that that was the case. But then again, I could be wrong. It could have been there and to not knock me down, but to help me to build resilience and confidence, and to actually test to see if I would get up and brush my knees off and try again, right? And I did. Here I am 11 years later, and I'm still here on YouTube. Do I have a gazillion followers? No. And I'm not saying, you know, that what I'm doing is totally unique, but what I'm doing is totally unique to me and in how I bring it to the table as kind of an offering, right? In being able to deliver something in that little drummer girl kind of fashion, because lots of times we don't have those resources that could make difficulties that we have in this moment minuscule in the next moment by just divvying out the chores. But if I divvied out the chores, right, paid somebody else to do these things, right, how would I ever grow in that? Right? It's the idea that if everything fell apart, would I still be able to keep it together? Right? And there'll be coming times when I'll get my editor. That would be the first little bit of money dishing out I would get for an editor, right? And I would get that great vehicle, that RV, and I would be on the road. And I'm determined and I'm working on it and I'm manifesting it and I dream of it, and my heart is in that. But at the same time, my heart is in other things too, because it's having those few interests that when you get punch drunk with one or bored with one or frustrated with one, that you can hop into something else and work on that without falling behind, because that's part of the plan. That was part of the goals. It's something that needs to get done. And so I don't feel like it's procrastinating. I don't think it's falling behind. And this is a good thing to do, especially for people who have ADHD that have a hard time focusing and sitting still and listening. It's great if you love what you're doing. I could sit and listen to mindset and psychologists and philosophers. I could do that all day. I could do that all day long and not get bored. But for some people, that's a lot, right? And it's the same thing for me. What you're doing, you absolutely love, and you could do it 24/7. But to me, that would put me to sleep. And that's our prerogatives because that's our life. And that's what makes us unique. We can have similarities in other aspects. We can find commonalities with each other, with anybody. It's just a matter of listening and paying attention and finding out what that is. And then the people that you have in your life can be different, right? Because you can always find that common ground where we can interact and we can appreciate each other. Okay, I don't know where that was going to or where it was coming from, but there it is. Hopefully, I'll come into the live too because I know that it serves me. It's really, I'm just reaching for my cards now and I'm going to fess up because we pulled that community card 5 times this month. And so I took that card out. I measured it. It was the right measurement, right? I thought maybe it was a different size and it kind of stuck out. So I wanted to make sure that, right, I wasn't pulling it because it felt different than the others. So I trimmed it. So I got my paper cutter. I'll cut a new card because they have to be exact in that fairness because maybe that word is, I felt guilty afterwards when I trimmed that card, but it kind of freaked me out too because after the live show, even, right, I went, oh my goodness, I can't believe we pulled that word community again. What is the message? What am I missing in that? And then I says, well, let's let the cards tell me what it is. Guess what card I pulled? Community. It just freaked me right out. So I just took my straight knife and I didn't even use a ruler. I just sliced the edges and I said, okay, that community card is buried in the deck now. It better not pop up for another few months at the very least because there are cards, there are powerful words in here I haven't even pulled yet, that we haven't even covered yet, because there are some cards that are consistently showing up. And it's not because I cut the cards wrong, right? I used my paper cutter and it's precise. It has the measures there and I was very precise. Maybe at the end I got a little bit tired, but I'm checking things and right, I'm saying, is there anything that doesn't feel good or feel right in here? And it feels good. So we'll see if it works out. Okay, you guys, so if you don't know, these are 54 powerful words. They're just powerful words. I have a little saying or a little thought I had in the moment when I wrote that powerful word down. Sometimes I go with it, sometimes, which is the intent, is it's the first perspective, first thought that comes to my mind and my thoughts on the matter. I wish I could get the word community right because it keeps popping up for a reason. I suspect it's because I'm not looking at it in the way that I'm being asked to look at it or perceive it or present it, one or the other. Okay, you guys, let's just go in. We're just going to pull a card, go into it for a couple of minutes, and then we're going to call it a night. I've got some running around to do tomorrow, and maybe I'm going to try and get a walk in. I was expecting the snow, the first real stay on the ground snow, to happen tonight. Doesn't look like it's going to happen until 5 o'clock tomorrow evening. It was supposed to start today, right? I know lots of people are happy that it's not, but I'm ready to sit here, look out my window, and see the snow, right? Falling. I have a street light here. It looks really pretty. Got a nice space here to look out my big picture window. Really happy where my desk is in the moment. Things still might change. They're always changing, right? But that's the idea, right? After a while, those pivots, we were talking about the pivots, they'll become less. Like I said, I've had maybe four or five major pivots in the past half a dozen years. It has been a process. But it has slowed down because I kind of found my groove in the baby steps that if I consistently introduce the change myself, if I can not throw the wrench into my life because that's self sabotage, but the little challenges, and I set goals, I have dreams, I have my lists going on, and I work on these things. And when I get bored with it, I have another list of things that need to get done. And so instead of running off to the kitchen cupboard to get a goodie or just to sit in my chair and stare at the ceiling, daydreaming, I don't know about you guys, right? I haven't been a daydreamer in a long time, but I used to be big on daydreaming, right? Now I call it punch drunk, but it takes a lot to get me punch drunk. I'm thinking I can digest a little bit these days. It's just a matter of when those big ones come in and they take a little bit extra work and extra attention. Okay, you guys, just let's go into that card. Everybody, I hope you're having an amazing week, right? My week is going pretty decently, right? It's moving better than I thought that it was going to move. I thought I had a few challenges coming up, being Christmas, and I'm thinking resources and house cleaning and baking and socializing and who wants this and just things just kind of, right? Don't worry about it. Just double check in those baby steps, get it done. And when you do those baby steps, it turns out not to be a baby step. It turns out to be maybe a skip or a big leap or something because you get a little bit of extra because you made that effort rather than if you didn't make that effort and you get a big fat zero, right? And you might put that effort in and get a zero to start with. But if you, right, dust yourself off and try again, you might realize that you're not making the mistakes that you made the last time you tried. And you might not do it perfectly, but maybe you'll do it better. Maybe that's enough to give you that little bit of motivation to just keep trying until you got it right. Okay, you guys, here we go. First impression, first thing that comes to my mind. Oh my goodness, I like this word. I like this word a lot lately. Genuineness is being comfortable enough to be yourself, right? And it took a long time for me, to get comfortable in front of a camera. Like I said, I used to explore abandoned farms, abandoned houses, but I would do it like virtual tours. You didn't see me. I was behind the camera. Every once in a while, I'd peep up, but for the most part, I was behind the camera. But I knew at some point I was going to have to get in front of the camera, that in order for my brand to grow, for me to grow, that I had to be brave enough because, this is social media. This is representing on communications platform. So I've got to practice in being good at it. But I'm doing this like a tie, right? To choke myself with a tie and dress up in a suit, a suit. I dress for the occasion, I'm sitting here at my home with you guys, having a cup of coffee, right? And we're having a chit chat and making a little bit of movement for ourselves. It's not like we're out on a business dinner, or I'm out on a stage, or I'm in a meeting, right? Or I'm going off dancing, or, right? I'm going to the beach. For each of those occasions, we're going to dress and present ourselves differently. But that doesn't mean that we're not genuine. It just means that we recognize, right, that we have to take into consideration our surroundings, right? Because we don't want to make anybody else feel uncomfortable. I mean, if you got invited to a garden party, would you come in your beach clothing with a rubber dinghy thing wrapped around your waist? No, because these are our social events. These are our social interactions. These are, right, we got invited because somebody thought we might enjoy contributing our presence to a gathering, that we might, right, enjoy ourselves and other people might enjoy us too. But if we misrepresent, if we embarrass, right, humiliate, anger sometimes, right? Maybe it was said right in the invitation, shirt and tie, and you totally disregarded that, right? How many times will you get invited out, right, on the occasion again? Probably not, right? And if you're lucky enough to get a second chance, I hope we, right, recognize where we made our mistakes in that, in brushing our knees and getting up again and trying something new, a different outfit, something more appropriate. Doesn't mean that we're not genuine. Can't even read them anymore. Genuineness is being comfortable enough to be yourself, right? But that doesn't mean going to the garden party in your, right, in your knickers and your rubber dinghy around your waist, because in that consideration, that shows your genuineness too, of kindness, right? That you took somebody else into consideration. So even though that act of wearing that shirt and tie that you would probably prefer not to wear, you wore it anyway, it shows to the group or the presentation where you're having to wear that outfit that you actually took somebody else into consideration, and they can see, right, the genuineness, the genuine kindness, the genuine consideration, right? And that's true. That's true. We all think that because we put on a different face and a different attitude and different outfits that we're not genuine. I suspect that, I'm not going to wear, depending on where I am, I'm not going to flip in my conversations or in my pronunciation, but maybe in my mannerisms as to when to be a listener, when to be a spectator, and when to actually be that extrovert who takes the microphone, right, at the podium of the wedding. That would be me. And you don't want me. Don't invite me to the wedding and make me the MC. Oh my goodness. Nobody else would get another word in. Okay, you guys. That's my good cheer. And we'll see you tomorrow.